So I'm making beef bourguignon. There's the beef, and then we're reducing some wine over here. That's going to go over to that pot and simmer in the oven for about 3 hours. Nice and tender, flavorful. Okay, so now we're going to pour this on top of this beef. Yummy. Turn the burner off over here. Now we're going to grab some beef stock. Hang on just a second. We're going to turn the burner back on. About medium high. We're going to add the beef broth. Sorry, not stock. It's beef broth. Some good quality beef broth is what you need. It says good enough. Got the label covered. It says Zoop's good enough to drink. Alright, now we're going to pour this just so the beef is almost covered. Alright, so about right. Oh, about right there. Okay. Now we're going to grab the aromatics. I got parsley, thyme, bay leaves. I'm going to put six or so sprigs of thyme. Put about a 1/3 cup of parsley. 2 bay leaves. Okay. Might as well throw these little sprigs in there. And then we're going to grab the tomato paste. And I think it was a tablespoon. So that's 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. I just kind of eyeball it. That's about 1. And that's about 2. Okay, now we're going to take this. We're going to stir it all up and simmer it. Bring it to a simmer. I didn't show you guys the first part of cooking the beef and stuff because I just decided to start this video. Look at all that. I want to scrape all those nice yummy bits at the bottom where I seared the beef. Get all that mixed up. And then we're going to bring it to a simmer and throw it in the oven. Cover it and throw it in the oven, like I said, for about, we'll say, 1.5 hours. And then look at it and then for another, I think, 2 hours. And then we're going to put some mushrooms, some pearl onions, some sauteed carrots and onions in there, and garlic. And it will be done, and I'll show you the finished product. Okay, now I'm going to add my sauteed carrots, onions, and garlic in the pot, or the pan. Make sure you get all of it. Hang on a second. Okay, now we're going to stir it up just a little bit. Yummy, looking good. We're going to cover it back up and put it back in there for another 1.5 hours. Okay, now I've got 14 ounces of frozen pearl onions, 2 cups of water, some salt, and 2 tablespoons of butter. I put it in the same pan as when I reduced the wine just because there's no reason to dirty a different pan or even wash it. So I'll let that come to a boil, then go to a simmer for about 20 minutes where all the water will be pretty much evaporated, and then I'll cook the mushrooms and add to it. Okay, so I've added 1 pound of mushrooms, a tablespoon of butter, and a couple tablespoons of olive oil. I'm just going to let it sit there and kind of brown real nicely. I'm not going to touch it for a minute. And then once those are done, I'm going to add it to that. If you do not like mushrooms, we cannot be friends. I'm just kidding. If you don't like mushrooms, you don't have to add them, but it does add a lot of depth of flavor to the beef bourguignon. So we're going to do that, and then waiting for the beef to get done to see if the sauce is thick enough. Now guys, what I did at the beginning was I cut up a chuck roast into about 2-inch cubes, and I put salt and pepper, dried it real good, added some olive oil, added salt pork, which is like bacon, but it's not cured and smoked. It does fry up like bacon. So fry that up, take that out, use the grease from the pork to saute the pieces of meat, or to brown, to sear the pieces of meat. You don't want to touch them. You want to put them in there, let them on medium-high sear till they're brown. Then take them out. You can do that in batches. You don't want to crowd the pan. And then after that, I add the salt pork back in, and then I dusted it with about a 1/3 cup of flour. Cooked that for a little bit so the flour cooked down and absorbed all the juices and got rid of that flour taste. And that's where I started the first video. And then I just poured pretty much a whole bottle of red wine in another pan. And it was the pan that I sauteed the carrots and the onions in. And let that reduce to about, not half, but about 3/4, so about a cup less than it was. And then that's what I poured into the beef and the flour. Sorry you missed that part. Okay, okay, so I put that in for another hour. The temperature has been at 300 all time. Put that in for another hour. Now let's see. Oh yeah, it looks really good. Really, really good. Now let's check, see how tender the meat is. Let's do a fork here. Okay. All right. So now let's take our meat. Let's do it on the tin foil. Oh yeah. You see that? Watch this with a fork. See how tender that is? Just comes right apart. Really good. Okay. Now, you want to find all your thyme stems. Take those out. And your bay leaves. Another one. I know there's some more thyme stems in here. Oh, there's one. Small one. Okay, now look real careful. You don't want anyone biting into a stem. This pot is actually for a client of mine, so I will not get to eat it. But being a chef, you do get to taste it. Always taste as you go. And remember one thing. Seasoning you can always add, but it's really hard to get it not as seasoned as you want, to take it away pretty much. Okay, there's another one. I saw you. Okay. Alright, I think that's all the stems. Make sure. Oh, nope. No, that's garlic. Did not look good. Okay. Okay, now. See one? Nope. Oh, that's all one. No. Now we want to pour onions and the mushrooms. Mix that in there. You can serve this over mashed potatoes or some buttered noodles. Oh, yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay. I reserved a little bit of the parsley that I cut up to add in here for beautiful coloring. So I'm going to grab that. I'm just going to put that in. Look how pretty. You might think it looks like beef stew, but it's definitely a step up. A few steps up from beef stew. So that is beef bourguignon. I know this is my first video, so I'm sure the camera's a little shaky. Just learning how to do it. So if you enjoyed it, subscribe and let me know how you liked it. All right, thank you. Okay, guys, I came back to add just a few side notes. I do salt and pepper every step I do, just because in the end, you don't have to add as much as usual. You can wait till the end. And also, if you're wanting to get in and out of the kitchen real quick, this is not the recipe for you. This is a slow process. Takes a lot of time. So, but it's worth it. It is so delicious. It's rich. It's creamy. It's just so good. If your sauce is too thin, you can strain it out. Put it back in the pan and reduce it. Put it on high and reduce it a little bit, and then add the stuff back in. You do want to taste at the end. Make sure salt and pepper, if you need to add any of that. Excuse my pans. I do a lot of cooking. Yeah, so if you have any questions, let me know. All right, thanks, guys.